Ryan Reynolds here for, I guess, my 100th Mint commercial. No, don't. I mean, honestly, when I started this, I thought I only have to do like 4 of these. I mean, it's unlimited premium wireless for $15 a month. How are there still people paying 2 or 3 times that much? I'm sorry, I shouldn't be victim blaming here. Give it a try at mintmobile.com/save. Whenever you're ready.
$45 upfront payment equivalent to $15 per month. New customers on first 3-month plan only. Taxes and fees extra. Speed slower above 40 gigabytes. See details.
Achieve clean, healthy-looking skin with Youth to the People. The 20-time award-winning superfood cleanser gently deep cleanses and removes makeup and SPF in 30 seconds. For skin that's hydrated, balanced, and soothed, never stripped. It's the green juice cleanse for your face, formulated with good-for-you antioxidants like kale, spinach, and multivitamins to respect your barrier. No disruption. Find out why one cleanser is sold every minute in the U.S. Shop now at Sephora.
Get softer, smoother, and more even-toned skin after just one use with the new Gentle Exfoliating line from Cetaphil. Formulated with a unique triple acid blend that promotes surface skin cell renewal, these gentle chemical exfoliators remove dead skin cells and refine skin's texture while hydrating, resulting in softer, smoother, more even-looking skin. Shop the new Cetaphil Gentle Exfoliating line in the face and body aisles at your local Target store or online at Cetaphil.com.
So attention cricket clubs and cricketing family, are you ready to step up to the crease and make a long-lasting impact on your club's legacy? Listen up, we've got something special for you. Introducing Fund It Now, the revolutionary fundraising platform that's changing the game for cricket clubs everywhere. With Fund It Now, clubs of all sizes can create a lasting legacy by selling personalised plaques to their passionate members, supporters and cricket club family.
That's right, Livo. Fund It Now has already left its mark on some of cricket's most iconic venues like Lords, the home of cricket, Somerset County Cricket Club, and with projects such as the Father Time Wall and Somerset Legends Wall.
There's the best part, Hugh. There are absolutely no upfront costs. Fundraising has never been more simple or accessible.
Imagine walking around your club's ground or up to the pavilion and seeing a bespoke wall of dedication, celebrating the history of your club and supporting its future with every plaque. It's like your club's very own shrine to the sport we all love.
And getting involved couldn't be easier. Simply visit Fund It Now's website at funditnow.co.uk to get started today, or drop them an email at info@funditnow.co.uk to learn more. It's time to rally your supporters and start raising money like never before. And don't forget to tell them you heard it from us at the Premier League Cricket Show.
So what are you waiting for? Join the ranks of clubs and grounds like Somerset County Cricket Club and Lords and make your mark on cricket history.
Visit Fund It Now today and start building your fundraising platform. That's funditnow.co.uk. Fund It Now, where passion meets purpose at your cricket club, and begin creating your own legacy. So welcome to the Premier League Cricket Show once again, another one of our match week recordings. Once again, we've got a guest with us this week, Hugh. But before we talk to our guest, how was the weather this weekend, mate? Let's get out of the way. Were we all right?
I think so, yeah. It was all right. It was chilly, but it was nice, right? Yeah.
It was cold, but we got lots of games on, didn't we?
Yeah, and just across the leagues, lots of scores. Just scanning through all the games, lots of 200 plus bits and pieces like that. The wickets it's still fairly seamer friendly out there. I think that we'll talk about that in a bit. But yeah, some big scores across the nation.
Most definitely. Hey, joining us this week, I'm going to be lazy this week. I don't do it very often. I'm going to read somebody's Wikipedia profile, and it's not very often to say that. So joining us is a former Australian professional cricketer who bats as a left-handed batter, but a right-arm medium pace bowler. Now you can see why I'm reading this, because it's left, right and centre this. As a former Australian, he was a medium pace bowler for Durham CCC, but he was born in New South Wales, spent a lot of time in Western Australia.
Good lad.
But he now is living up in the northeast, and he's actually sat right now in Durham County Cricket Club in the Riverside. Welcome, Ash Thorpe. How are you doing, mate?
I'm very well, mate. Thank you. How are you?
I'm confused looking at your Wikipedia.
Yeah, I don't know who's written that, but I probably need to get somebody to rewrite that. There's a lot going on there, but I'm a pretty mixed up individual, and that sums me up pretty well to me.
How long have you been up in the northeast then?
Permanently since '97. Came across originally to play some club cricket, and as a lot of Aussies do, ended up meeting a woman who is now my wife and son of my 26-year-old child. I'll get that right somewhere. But yeah, we've been married now for the best part of 26, 27 years. So
fantastic.
Happily settled in the area.
A Geordie?
Well, yeah, I am. I would claim that half and half. I get slated on my commentary for my mixed up accent being half Aussie, half Geordie. So yeah,
there's not a lot of Aussie left, I wouldn't say.
Nah, she's pretty much gone. I've lived in the UK longer than I've lived in Australia.
Yeah. And I've got to ask, on Wikipedia it puts nicknames as well.
Yeah.
Who had Buff first, you or the other one?
Well, I got nicknamed Buff after him. So yeah. There's a lot of similarities between me and Big Darren. So both left-handed, both like to whack it, both bald, both on the large side. So there was a lot of similarities there between us.
Well, you can obviously swim a bit because you're also known as the Torpedo.
Yeah, I can float.
You've got a similarity with our friend Hugh here because you began playing at Scarborough Cricket Club in Western Australia.
Yeah, that was...
Well, I'm not sure. I didn't play at Scarborough Cricket Club. I wasn't that good. But I lived in Scarborough and swam at Scarborough Beach. So there you go. That's the tenuous link.
Yeah, we'll take that as a similarity. Yeah. Spent lots of time at Scarborough Cricket Club and at Scarborough Beach, to be fair, growing up. And brilliant place to learn to play cricket with some great players.
I mean, that Grey Cricketer podcast, which you've probably heard of, made a certain era of grey cricket in Australia famous and infamous, maybe. And I suspect you were part of that rather character-building era. You know, what was it like going into those sort of first-grade sides back in the day?
It was really tough, to be honest. You know, coming through as a 16, 17-year-old in grade cricket, you're playing against Test cricketers, you're playing against state cricketers, and it's a great breeding ground. It was hard. You know, there was no place to hide, and we were fortunate. We had Justin Langer in our corner, and he would fight for every single one of us. So that was a kind of, you know, person for us to feed off. But you play in a game and you could have 4 or 5 guys from our club in the States set up, and then you might play against somebody like Midland Guildford, who have got about 7 or 8 with Tom Moody and Brendan Julian and Simon Kadich and people like that. So it was tough, but great cricket. Yeah,
I mean, obviously the opportunities for professional cricketers weren't quite the same back then. So they seem to be playing a lot more club cricket than you know is the case now.
Yeah, absolutely. And a lot of them had jobs, unless you were right at the very top of kind of maybe pushing for Australia honours. So some of them were working and playing. You know, Shield cricket isn't as busy a schedule as county cricket, and the quality probably shows through that as well, where they're playing each state kind of 5 times home and away, and then the T20 wasn't around in those days, but you still had the one-day competition. But then when they weren't playing, you had to play for your club side. And there were certain weekends as well where even the Australian players were designated that they had to play club cricket as well. So that was an unbelievable experience.
Fantastic. And JL was was he the captain of Scarborough at the time? Because he's still involved in
Scarborough. No, he wasn't captain. He was pretty much a young fella as well when I was coming through. He's a few years older than me. But yeah, he was always a leader from coming through. Just his work ethic and his single-mindedness to succeed was there for all to see. And a few people jumped on his coattails and ran with that. And we had a really successful and a good side and played some really competitive cricket.
Fantastic. So how old were you when you came over to the UK?
22 when I moved here permanently, yeah.
And I've got to ask the question. You came over in 97, 22 years old. Yeah. Why the North East? Again,
it gets more random. So there was a guy who played for Durham at the time, a guy called Sean Burbeck. He actually came and played club cricket in Scarborough and lived with me. There was a guy, pretty average cricketer, guy called Jimmy Adams, who was touring with the West Indies at the time. And his home club was a club that I went and played for. So he got me to come back again the next year to play with him. The first year I actually came across was 95, and the West Indies were touring, and he in the UK at the time. He actually got hit in the eye, I think, on that tour as well. Like Andre Van Troost, like properly melted his face a little bit. And then he said, well, I want to play a season with you. So he kind of forced me with a massively twisted arm behind my back to come back. And like I said, the rest is history there, meeting my wife, and spent many years still trying to play at the moment, trying to retire more closer to the truth.
And you've been cold ever since?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm freezing now, actually.
You're talking to your mate there, because Hugh's actually underdressed today by his standards. He hasn't got a bobble hat on.
I've still got thermal underwear on under my tracky bottoms here.
Some things don't change. And you've been nice to stay in the one area in the UK since you've been here, Ash. I mean, you've stayed in the North East, you played for a couple of clubs, But in the last 2 years, you've gone back to Chesterfield Street, where you were there in 2003. 20 years later, you turn up as captain again. What was that draw to go back there?
Again, I was trying to retire, if I'm totally honest with you. So I'd spent the longest period at Washington Cricket Club. I'd spent 10 years there, built them into the Premier League system, and just felt like that had kind of run its course and they needed some fresh blood in there. And I was thinking of retiring, and it was Sean's older brother, Tony, who was my first captain at Chesterfield Street. He was like,
right,
no, we've got a job for you. You're not done yet. And he was like, will you come back and be captain and coach? So in all honesty, it didn't take me long to think about it. I spoke to my wife and she's gone, just go back. It kind of completes the full circle of when the Premier League first started in '99. I went there as their overseas professional, and kind of just kind of completes the circle really of my club career. And I love the club. It's a great place full of great people. And if you haven't seen the ground, it's a beautiful place to play cricket as well.
It is. It's most definitely one of the most beautiful around. And you've been there last season and this season now. You had a good win at the weekend over Newcastle.
We did.
In your mind, no one's listening. How's the season got started for you?
Average. If I'm totally honest with you, what we really struggle for is a settled side, which is probably similar to most clubs around the country with regards to availability. And sounding really old, it's just not like it used to be. You used to set up your season in April. You put weddings in April or in September. Your holidays were bookended either one end of the season. That's just not the case anymore.
And there was no such thing as a festival?
Yeah, absolutely. Nothing, and I understand that people have lives and they have families and commitments like that, but just getting the same 11 on the park every week and work commitments as well on the weekend now, that seems to be more than what that used to be. So, yeah, consistency in selection seems to be an issue, but when we play our good cricket, we can win, and when we've been off, we've been beat, which is a sign of a really healthy league, I think.
So you've got 12 teams in the North East Premier League. I'm going to ask a really sort of slightly random question based upon what you've just said there. You're going to play 22 games this season. What would you call a decent number of games to get out of a Premier League cricketer these days? Because we know back in the day, you'd want 30 to 35 games because you're on Saturdays, Sundays, midweeks, wherever. What do you want these days?
I would love everybody just to commit to playing every Saturday, but that's your dream. I think midweek cricket and stuff like that, like you say, when I first came over, I think some weeks we were playing seven to 8 cup ties, and then you have your weekends, and then you continue. So I think we went through a period at one stage of playing 14 days or nights straight, which isn't the case now. I think clubs are entering less and less midweek cup competitions. The Premier League itself has its own kind of T20 competition that kind of everybody focuses on that really. But yeah, I mean, if you can get 18 plus games out of somebody for league cricket, and then in all honesty, the midweek stuff isn't the priority anymore. It's just trying to get bodies available on Saturday.
Most definitely. Hey, should we have a first look at one of the other leagues around the country, Hugh, just to crack on? I think what we'll do is, since we've got someone in the far northeast, shall we go as far away from him as we possibly can?
Of course. The league will know the least about, yeah.
Exactly. Let's go to Devon and have a look at Devon, shall we, for the first time this season properly. So for those of you who aren't aware about the Devon League, Sandford won it last year and are still top of the league right now. I think I'm trying to think of another league someone who won it and they are top of the league still right now.
Not many, no.
Bradninch and Kentisbeere came second. They're second right now as well. First and second still battling away. Plimpton, who just escaped relegation last year, are bottom. But Exeter, who came up from below, are halfway up the league and doing all right. But you tell us, Hugh, what was going on in that league last weekend?
Well, we'll start with Exeter. 375 plays 210. So they beat Bovey Tracy. Zach Vukic, 116 for Exeter. Sam Reed, 70. Sam Reed also 4 for 26. So he had a bit of a day out. Yeah, 347 for 5. They finished off their 50 and bowled Bovey Tracy out for 202. So that's a really top score for them, and also one of the highest scores in the country this weekend. Exmouth Sidmouth, I think, didn't quite go to plan there for Sidmouth. All out for 145. Exmouth 146 off 16 overs. So they got that job done pretty quick. A few people, 42 from Louis Morrison off 17 balls. So he was hitting them quickly. And then Cameron Kidd 4 for 27 to deal with Sidmouth.
They were in a rush to get that done, weren't they?
Well, you might as well, don't you? You've got a low total. You don't know what the wicket's doing. I think Pakistan could have done with a bit of that advice yesterday. And that
proves that we record this pretty much on time, doesn't it?
Yeah. Well, he's there. He's trying to knock it about, and you've got 40 to win. Just go for it. Try and get it done.
Absolutely. They haven't listened to Teague Wiley last week yet, have they?
They should have done.
Exactly.
Frustrating game that was. Heathcote's Cornwood's Heathcote all out for 200, and then Cornwood 202 for 2. Saw that one home rather easily with 8 overs or so to go. Tom Hatton 43 for Heathcote, Max Finzel 82, Matthew Schemer 58 off 77, and Matt Schemer as well 3 for 25. So a few guys contributing with bat and ball. Payneton Plimpton all out for 203, chasing 251. So didn't get that done. Charlie Ward 85 for Payneton, Elliot Hamilton 94, Cole Harford 4 for 21 for Payneton, and then Sanford, Bradnich and Kent's beer. I have not pronounced that correctly, but that'll do.
No, we're going to get it nowhere close to that.
That one looked a little bit more challenging in terms of the bowlers being on top.
It looks like a first v second match, doesn't it?
Yeah, Bradnich and Kent's beer 182 all out, and then managed to bowl Sanford out for 151. So bit of a low scoring one there. Lawrence Walker 48 from 79, Sanford, and Harrison Jones 455, and then Gary Chappell 43, and then there's the runs being shared out there for Bradnich. Gary Chappell 3 for 22, Mitchell Pugh 3 for 29, Ross Acton 3 for 37. So, good team performance for a good win there.
Fair to say the Devon League was a bit of a random one last week, with Exeter scoring 347 and then teams being bowled out for 145, with some real randomness there. Did you find that in the North East Premier League, Ash, as well? Because it seems to be a little bit more stable in that league.
Yeah, there hasn't been the real high scores as of yet. I think the weather's played a massive part, and you're probably getting pitches now that you would normally get at the very start of the season, so they're quite soft, and the outfields are still pretty slow. So hopefully, well, not from my point of view, but hopefully the scores for the batters start to improve a little bit. But yeah, I think that just the groundsmen have been massively up against it, trying to get batting pitches and outfields to suit.
It's been a windy one down here this weekend, which I think has helped things up. Yep.
Absolutely.
Talking of the North East Premier League then, Hugh, should we crack on with those results? We'll start with our guests' results, shall we? Chester Street versus Newcastle, I think.
So Chester Street versus Newcastle. Chester Street restricted Newcastle to 191 for 9, I think. Sounds about right?
Yep.
And then knocked it off. So Ash, just talk through the format. We get a lot of formats. Can you talk us through the current format of the North East Premier League at the moment?
Yeah, so I'll go back to at the very start. So our first 6 games are 45 overs, win-lose. We're playing coloured kit with an orange ball. Then we split into red ball cricket, which is 110 overs. So the first innings you can bat 58, or you can declare earlier if you feel that you've got a score, or you want to declare and have more overs to bowl a team out. And then it's a maximum 110.
Maximum 110. So this weekend you've restricted them off there. You've got a 9 down off their 58. Yeah. And then you've finished the job with 7 and a bit overs to go. So a good win there.
Well, no, we only had 1 over to spare, so we would have had 52 to chase. So there's an advantage there. So if you bat first and you feel that you've got a score, you can declare and get extra bonus points. So you can get a maximum of 4 extra bonus points, which would make it an even 54-54 split. Which it's just not. Sorry, 5. Yeah, 5 bonus points, and then you get them for 3, 5, 7, and 9 wickets, and I think 1, 2, 5. 150, 175 and 200. Very, very complicated league.
I still think it's not quite as complicated as the Cheshire League, which this year has just blown my mind. But we've got I've got Jay Thompson here in my score. What's his first name?
James Allen Thompson. He's our captain now. So I started the season as captain, and then with my availability not being brilliant, he has jumped in charge and played a real captain's innings. He struggled for runs this year, if I'm totally honest, and he probably won't mind me saying that, but we had a mini collapse there where we lost 3 quick wickets, and he really steadied the ship and batted, got 60 odd not out of about 100 balls, I reckon, and saw us home.
61 off 113 balls not out. So, and then yourself 3 for 45 off your 13 overs, and then M Watson 358. So again, decent team performance all round. Is that Jacques Dutoit?
It is indeed, yeah.
55 off 50 for Newcastle, and is it George Darwood?
It is George Darwood, who's was been part of the Durham pathway and is a really nice seam bowler. Absolute double of Jimmy Anderson's action, and
Is that right?
In the game. Yeah, he's lovely to watch.
Well, he's 34 or 59 and 2 for 61 from him. So it was an interesting game, that, and it's a good win for Chester Street. Jumping into a couple of the other results, South North lost out to Tynemouth 273 for 8 off their 58, and then South North 8 down 173. So I assume we have a draw there. And then Burnetfield Tyndale all out for 129. Burnetfield walked it in 17 overs with Ross Whitfield for Burnetfield 50, Ben McKinney 38. Is that Ben McKinney? Is he on the Durham pathway as well? Ben McKinney.
He certainly is. He's full time. He's a professional here at Durham. Yeah.
Yeah. Was he at England under 19? Is that?
He was indeed. He was one of my students as well a couple of years ago.
Oh,
so
good. Very good.
Brilliant. Big left-handed dominant batter. Just needs to score a bit more runs, and I'm sure we'll see a lot more of him in the future.
Yeah, there's a few lads on the Durham for the England under 19s, weren't they? With Phil Muster's lad did very well out there. Kept nicely in.
Yeah, Hayden and Neil Colleen's son was also part of the tour, Mitchell.
Yeah. So it was a good Northeast representation in that tour.
South Northumberland won last year the Northeast Premier League. A little bit of a surprise that they're quite low down at the moment, isn't it, Ash?
Yeah, I think it's just a sign of the league. There's some sides who have really strengthened. I think going back to their result on the weekend, Stan McAlinden, the Durham bowler, big promising quick there, is actually a really talented all-rounder. So he's coming back from an injury and he opened the batting and got 80. Mm-hmm. We beat South Northumberland in a really good game a couple of weeks ago. They've got Tom Rogers, the quickie from Tasmania, as their overseas player, and it's great to have good overseas players. But yeah, they're still a force to be reckoned with. I think Burnmore, if I was a betting man, would be my favourites for the league at the moment. And we've got them this weekend.
They came second last year, didn't they?
Yeah, they're a strong side. And
Tynemouth, who almost went down last year, third place. They're doing really nicely, aren't they? And obviously, had that game against South Northumberland itself at the weekend.
Yeah, they're a good side. They've probably underachieved over the last few years. Their ground is really conducive to spin bowling, so I think they've strengthened in that area and playing to their strengths a little bit. So fair play to them. They'll be really tough to beat on their home patch.
This episode is brought to you by State Farm. You might say all kinds of stuff when things go wrong, but these are the words you really need to remember. Like a good neighbor, State Farm is there. They've got options to fit your unique insurance needs, meaning you can talk to your agent to choose the coverage you need. Have coverage options to protect the things you value most. File a claim right on the State Farm mobile app and even reach a real person when you need to talk to someone. Like a good neighbor, State Farm is there.
Oh, such a clutch off-season pickup, Dave.
I was worried we'd bring back the same team.
I meant those blackout motorized shades.
Blinds.com made it crazy affordable to replace our old blinds.
Hard to install?
No, it's easy. I installed these and then got some for my mom. She talked to a design consultant for free and scheduled a professional measure and install.
Hall of Fame son.
They're the #1 online retailer of custom window coverings in the world.
Blinds.com is the GOAT.
Shop Blinds.com's primetime kickoff event. Save up to 50% off select styles, plus doorbusters. Rules and restrictions may apply.
You might have heard Ash mention the name Matt a few minutes ago. And so, yes, we are joined once again for the Cricket Performance of the Week by Mr. Matt Taff. How you doing, mate?
Very well, Ian. Good yourself?
I'm fair to middling, I think the best way to describe it, definitely. And I think you've actually got one up on me and Hugh this week.
What's that?
He won.
Oh, well, yeah.
He won this weekend.
Yeah, finally.
Finally he won. My club didn't have the best of weekends. Hugh, you didn't win either, did you? So well done, Matt.
Thank you. In the wickets as well. That's a rarity.
Yeah, Matt in the wickets, not in the runs though, were you?
No.
No, but we're not going to talk about that, are we?
Well, I'd quite like to hear about it, to be honest, because left arm bowling over the wicket, taking the ball away from you, big stride, plum.
Yeah, I can only agree with you there. I'm not going to support, but I was a bit disappointed walking off, but we'll call it at
that. At which point I'll say, hey, Matt, how the Cricket boys got on batting this weekend?
Yeah, it's been another good week for our players. Yash Kathari's leading the way. He's had 200 this week. He's had 102 not out off 50 balls, and then backed it up on Saturday against Sunderland with 130 not out. So that's his fourth 100 of the year so far.
Making some serious runs at Benwell Hill, isn't he?
Yeah, he's going pretty well. So sure we'll be talking about him over the next few weeks. Avishka Tharindu, he's gone back-to-back 100s. He's gone 146 not out. For Bracebridge. Heath, Shreyans Ghosh, again, back-to-back 100s for him, 134 not out off 100 balls for Hatherley. And then Pakistani Saad Khan, he's gone 119 for Old Ruts against Cheam. Afghani Zia-ul Haq Pawani, 105. That's his second 100 of the year. And then UAE cricketer CP Rizwan's got his first 100 for Hadley and Reading's 102 not out. So that wraps up us for the week for the Centurions.
Some good ones there. And we picked up on Mr. Tarindu ourselves, Hugh Adnings. He's in the top 10 in the country this week in terms of where his century falls. But there's a few above him, including one rather surprising one, I think, in the batters this week, isn't there, Hugh?
Oh, I mean, I'm not about surprising, but we're talking Jonathan Whitehead here at the top.
Oh, no, that's no surprise. Well, you tell me.
Well, I suppose number two, yes. I suppose, number two is a surprise. Jonathan Whitehead leads the country this week, 189 off 128, which I'm led to believe by yourself, Ian, is a lower houses club record. Is that right?
The record. I think it might be a record for an amateur in the Lancashire League.
Lancashire League record for an amateur and fifth highest in the Lancashire League, full stop, in the history of the Lancashire League, which is
correct. And I'm sure the Lancashire League people will tell me that I'm wrong if they're otherwise.
Well, but yeah, that's a terrific performance from him against Middleton.
But in second place,
Peter Hatzeglu. We discussed him with Teague Wiley last week.
Ash's face says it all.
Yeah, I mean, it's a bit of an odd one. I don't think he could. Was much of a batter. Obviously, a very useful sort of mystery spinner type. But 185 off 110 balls in what was a remarkable game at Buckhurst Hill. We got Buckhurst Hill 344 for 3 plays. Brentwood's 341 for 6. So we've got Brentwood's gone in there. We've got Jordan Silk, Tasmanian captain Brentwood, walking off pretty smug, thinking he's done his job. 174 off 134 balls, not out. And Peter Hatzeglu rocks up. Opens the batting, 185 off 110, job done, see you later.
Chases it down.
Yeah, with 10 overs to go. So I think that was the highest score.
I wonder when our friends at Hornchurch are going to come up against him, because that might be worth having a look at, won't it?
But I think what's more surprising, Peter Hatzeglu, just looking at his play cricket stuff, obviously his first class and T20 is a bit different, but looking at his play cricket stats historically, this season he's gone 6, 9, 8, 185. And in previous year, I think last year he played a few games in the East Anglia Prem. I know he played for Buckhurst Hill. I think he played the East Anglia Prem it must have been the year before. 31 was his top score last year. And then in the East Anglia Prem for Sawston, a top score of 56. So that one's come out of nowhere. So a destructive performance from the two Australians sort of pros there. So
in the same game.
In the same game. Yeah, good track. Good track down there, I believe.
Ash is thinking, I do not want to bowl on that track.
No, thanks.
Ed Brown's fourth, Bradford and Bingley, 169 for 101 ball. They've all been quick this weekend. And then Vritaya Aravind, 159 for 139 for Neath against Swansea. Swansea on the wrong end of that this weekend. So that we've had 7 scores over 150. And 6100s this weekend. And then Ian Kobe with a 99 not out as well for Formby. So
some performances around the country there. The runs are starting to flow. All depends on how much sun's got on that wicket, obviously. Yeah. Mr. Taff.
No leaf blowers.
We won't talk. Leaf blowers, no comment. Mr. Taff, bowlers for Cricket. How you got on, mate?
Delanka Ortwood, he's gone 8 for 53. He leads the pile for us this week. Sri Lankan left arm spinner.
Did he get you out?
No, he didn't. No, wrong league. Tender Chirozo, he's gone 6 for 44 for Epsom. Again, he's a Zimbabwean left arm spinner. That was against Hampton Wick Royal. Is that, folks? My mate, current pro at Lytham. He's gone 5 for 4 off his 7 overs this week.
5 for 4.
And the 4 was an inside edge for 4. So he had it on a string, and he is not just saying it because get on quite well, that he is one for the future. He's going a real long way in terms of New Zealand cricket. So
how old is he?
He turned 22 on Wednesday.
And he celebrated with 5 for 4.
Celebrated with 5 for 4 on a trip to Dublin in the week as well to see his brother that works for Island Cricket. So,
what were your figures, by the way, Matt?
3 for 4, I think. So,
wow, they weren't bad, were they?
No, they weren't bad. Not usually their second pick, but I'll take second place there. And then Manishanka Murasinghe, he's not scored hundreds this week, so he's had to take a 5 for. He's gone 5 for 16 for Philadelphia. And then Safi Ghaffari, 5 for 53 for Richmondshire against Middlesbrough. And that sums us up again for this week's performances.
The Northern boys are doing really well for Cricket, aren't they? There's no two ways about it. But yeah, we all know what will happen when that sunshine starts coming out. The boys down south, the wickets will harden up, and we'll know what will happen down in the Sussex League and in the Surrey Champ and stuff like that, don't we? Definitely. Hey, thanks for your time again, Matt. What we're going to do, as always, we'll put 3 or 4 names onto our Twitter this week, and we'll have a poll once again for the ECB Cricket Performance of the Week. Thanks a lot, Matt.
No problem. Cheers, guys.
Thanks, Matt.
Cheers, mate.
Good night.
Bye.
When it comes to towing, seeing is believing. That's why Chevy Truck's advanced camera technology offers up to 8 available cameras for 14 unique views, so you can focus on the view that really matters. Chevrolet, together let's drive. Learn more about Chevy Trucks at Chevy.com. Safety or driver assistance features are no substitute for the driver's responsibility to operate the vehicle in a safe manner. Read the vehicle owner's manual for important feature limitations and information.
So just on to wickets across the nation then in the Premier Leagues. So we've got Harry Pearson at Stocksley, 7 for 38 leading the way against Bishop Auckland in the North York South Durham League. Great performance there. Amir Yamin, 7 for 39 against for Truro against Camborne. Andy Hamby, Great Witchingham on the board there, 7 wickets for 43. And then Toby Petman, familiar name, Southport and Birkdale against Wallasey, 9 overs. 6 for 10. That's a hell of a return there off his 9 overs. And then
I think he was a bit miffed about not playing for Notts at Derby the night before.
Well, they could have done with him, to be fair. Notts were horrendous. So yeah.
I thought I'd league into that one.
Yeah. Well, I've got a foot in both camps, so I don't mind. But I wanted a decent game of cricket, and that was garbage. Derbyshire just walked it. Notts were well off the pace. Alex Hale's making up for it by sledging the Derbyshire crowd after the end of the match. So, and then Danushka Milowaj, 6 for 16 for Modeshaw against Burslem, rounds out the top 5. And what's interesting, he's the only spinner in the top 5. All the rest right-arm seamers. And so the seamers still making the most of the conditions.
And is that the same up in the North East Premier League, Ash? Is it seamers are still living it up right now?
Yeah, I think it's still pretty handy bowling conditions. It is starting to get a bit drier, and some of the pitches maybe are starting to have been used maybe 1 or 2 weeks in now as well. So, I mean, we're due for more weather this week again up in the northeast. So it'd be interesting to see what we get. But yeah, seem very, very, very seam friendly bowling.
Just how stressed are those ground staff that you talk to?
Do you know what it is? It's bloody hard work putting them covers on and off. I tell you, we had a Durham 2s game at our club the other week. We had the flat sheets on and off, and we ended up getting 8 overs in. I think the covers were on and off more than the game got played. And,
frustrating.
And it is stressful, but I guess the plus side of that is the outfields look beautiful and green at the moment. Probably have a hose pipe ban in about a month's time or something like that. And the way that the UK works, but yeah, it is really hard, and just getting the wickets prepared. You need 2 to 3 weeks to prepare a good hard wicket, and groundsmen are just not getting that at the moment. Just having to look after really the pitch that they've got made and ready and available at the time. So yeah, real tough.
I think you're right. They are 2 to 3 weeks, maybe 4 or 5 in some parts of the country behind where they normally would be right now, aren't they?
Yeah, absolutely right. Yeah, and like I said, there's more weather around at the moment. So yeah. God bless the groundsmen, no wonder they're grumpy.
Yeah. And that's a perfect little way to move on to another part of the country, shall we? Should we go somewhere a little bit more close to home and go to Leicestershire, Hugh, and have a look at what's going on there? So last year, Kibworth won the league. They're back in 4th place at the moment. The runners-up last year were our friends Ollie Freckingham and Dieter Klein play. Rothley Park, they are leading the league. They've taken a 27-point lead over Lutterworth in 2nd place right now. So that's a good game and a bit that they're ahead there. Newton Linford, who almost went down, they're doing all right at the moment. And Horton and Thornaby and Lutterworth, who came up last season, doing perfectly fine. Lutterworth are in 2nd place themselves. So what happened over in Leicester last weekend then, Hugh?
Yeah, I mean, decent scoring, I think, was what happened. There's lots of runs about. We've got Oakham 300, plays Salby 248. You think you'd be happy with your 300. They won easily, but it's still, Salby still managed to put nearly 250 on the board. Will Beggy 108, Ed Siddle 3 for 40 there, and Greg Willows 91 for Salby, and Kieran Chance 4 for 39. Rothley Park, Kibworth, that was an interesting game. 205 plays 2-11. Rothley got over the line, with a fair few overs to spare, but 7 down. Kelly 91 and T. Petrie 43 for Kibworth. That was more of a team performance for them. Leicester Ivanhoe, Cropston got there quite easily in the end. 219 for 5 off 50 for Leicester Ivanhoe, and Cropston got home pretty easily with Stephen Punchard 53. Yeah, and then Houghton Langton's 269 plays 254, and then Houghton won that one, bowling out Langton's. And then Barrow Loughborough 234 plays 233 for Barrow, so Loughborough winning it with 8 overs to go. Ramesh Kher 74 off 89, and then the Loughborough scoring was very evenly spread. Lots of people in the 40s.
I think the game to go back to there in the Leicester League, in particular, you've got Rothley versus Kibworth from, first versus second from last year. Rothley will be really pleased to get that win. Interestingly, Dieter Klein not in the wickets. Ollie Freckingham with 1, not the usual pair running up the wickets left, right and centre there for Rothley Park. Nice to see other people get a wicket, isn't it? But the one that I want to pick up in particular in the Leicester League, Sam Evans playing at Leicester Ivanhoe, who, if our calculations are right, Hugh, he's the number 1 batter in Premier League cricket in the country right now, isn't he?
That's right, yeah. And there's a few up there that possibly aren't the usual suspects. I think weather performances and things like that, weather affecting games, leagues across the board. But yeah, Sam Evans, we've got Joe Pocklington second as well. So Sam Evans is well ahead, 662 runs, had a terrific season at 132. But Joe Pocklington's probably the surprise package there. I think he's ex-Sussex lad. He's at uni in Leeds, I believe, playing for Farsley Cricket Club. 510 runs at 63 for him. So he's having a hell of a season because probably, whilst he's an absolute quality player, he probably wouldn't have expected him to be right up there at this stage of the season.
No, and for you, Ash, quite important having that university on the doorstep for you guys. Is that one of your, shall we say, your fertile grounds to go and grab players from?
Not for us, but the club I was at previously, we've used Durham University players, and the lad who we had actually when I was there got 100 for that club on the weekend. And you've got some really good players. Nikhil Garantler plays at South Northumberland. We've got Travis Norris, who opens batting for Durham University. He got 100 against us in the first game of the season on a really average wicket. And he was a difference in them winning the game. So, yeah, if clubs can tap into that, there's definitely some good players around.
And it's a chicken and egg, isn't it? Because some clubs will tap into it, and then there's players at Durham University who'll be, going off to their own home ground week in, week out and making that long journey, wherever that long journey is.
Yeah, I guess maybe being in the northeast, it's probably too far for some of them to go. So they kind of have some clubs. There's a few of them that actually stayed the whole season up here. Must have been looked after financially, I would assume. But yeah, it might just be the logistics of having to travel so far away from the northeast and then come back to study and stuff like that. But we do have some good players knocking around. We've got Northumbria and Newcastle University as well, just up the road. So they feel some players in as well.
Is there a link with the Durham pathway? Obviously you've got players that are playing at these clubs, but do the academy lads sort of get pushed into playing the Premier League cricket, or they obviously want to play the Premier League cricket? Do they get shared around, or is it sort of just how it falls?
So Durham Academy used to be in the Premier League back when it first started, and that fizzled out a few years ago now. And now that they try and keep the lads with their home clubs as much as possible, they feel that they get that more development where an academy player can have a more prominent role with their club team than maybe they would have as part of an academy as a whole. So that's the theory at the moment. And some of them, if they come from lower league clubs, maybe push towards Premier League clubs. But yeah, on a whole, they try and keep them with their home club to try and give something back.
And do you have pros sort of allocated, the professionals, or they have a club allocated to them? Like some leagues, they get spread around the leagues. Does that work in the north?
So clubs are restricted. I think you can have 2 Durham players, only play one at any given time. But I think that the Durham players are free to kind of pursue whatever contracts they want with clubs. Back in the day, we used to be given out, kind of raffled out to clubs, kind of right. You're going here this year. Lucky I was put with Chesley Street, which was my club before I joined Durham. But yeah, what you'll find is that now the players can just go and choose and negotiate kind of any packages that they want with any clubs.
Okay, cool. So we've got in the Southern Premier League, they still have the Hampshire Academy within that Premier League system.
Yeah.
Do you think that's a good thing? It's an interesting concept, isn't it? One of the arguments against it for me is that if you're on the academy, you could be playing for the academy one weekend. The weekend after, you literally could be playing against the academy for your home club.
Yeah, it's just tough to get that right balance. I love the idea of them being together and trying to build a kind of a club ethos all the way through. So you're spending that. But I think what they're getting now is more midweek cricket, where they seem to be playing that a lot more now. So that kind of takes the need, I guess, for Saturday cricket away. I like the fact that they can go back to their clubs, give something back, rather than as a club, you produce a player, then you lose them at kind of 16, 17. They're still there. They're still part of your club. And I think they can play that major role for a club rather than maybe batting 7 or 8 for the academy. They can actually still go out on a Saturday and be the main man and try and win games for their own people.
Most definitely. And I made a point of this a couple of weeks ago, I'm sure you'll be aware of as well. When it comes to putting back, one of your local clubs, Ashington, had a break-in a few weeks ago. And we, within hours, Mark Wood's putting a video out there to try and support the club. I think it's really great up there for stuff like that, isn't it?
Yeah, it is a community. We played them last week and we let them beat us that night. Didn't quite, but what we did as a club is we provided match balls. So we, for our games home and away, we're going to provide our match balls to Ashington just to save them a couple of £100 really, and just try and give something back, just to get back on your feet.
Yeah,
they're a real community club. They've got some great people there. It's always nice to go up there, and you just, what you don't want to see is clubs going backwards. It's hard enough to run a club now with.
Yeah,
you've got so many volunteers that you need to make the place work, and when you get a kick in the guts like that, and somebody breaks in, and they're stealing beer, they're stealing money, they're stealing spirits, and you just put you back so far. So the community in the northeast have been brilliant and supporting them. I know CM Park did something for. I think even just donating kegs of beer and that a few clubs did.
Saw that.
Just to help them get back on their feet, and that's what I love about this area.
Absolutely. Hey, Hugh, should we move a little bit further to the west and get over to, this is going to be fun. Let's go over to the Premier League, where Hugh has more fun with names than any other. God. Should we go to North Wales and talk about what's going on over there? So Mochta are top of the league in North Wales. There you go. I'll start you off, mate. Mochta are top of the league. Last year's winners, St. Asapher in third place. Northup, who came second last year, in fourth. Llandudno almost went down, and if they're not careful, they've only got 7 points so far this season. They're going to be going down pretty swiftly this year. From what I could see, the league looked to be reduced from 12 teams to 10 this year, and hence one of the reasons Llandudno got away with it. But what have you seen going on over there at the weekend then, Hugh?
Yeah, I mean, it's slightly more chaotic over there, and I'm still not sure that Mochta is the correct pronunciation. I was in North Wales last week at a cricket ground, and I'm sure somebody taught me how to say it, and I've forgotten. So apologies all round, particularly to all relatives of mine that are Welsh. But yeah, we'll start at the top. Bangor, Mochta 192 for 8. Bangor all out for 148. Fairly low scoring across the league. That game was pretty low scoring, sort of shootout kind of game. Brimbo easily beat Gresford. Brimbo got 231 on the board, 79 from Connor Davies. And then not a huge amount in reply. Wes Evans 46. Denby, Llandudno 133 off 30 overs, so all out there chasing 234. Not again, still 234. We've got James Dutoit at 84 off 122 balls, and then the runs shared around there. Harrison Jones 3 for 4 in reply off his 3 overs, so he cleaned them up at the end there. Menai Bridge, which I did question. It sounds lovely. I had this conversation. I said, Menai Bridge just sounds lovely. And they said it is lovely. So I've not been there to that cricket ground. But
you want to go there?
Apparently it is just as nice as it sounds. So spot on there for Menai Bridge. And they won as well, beating Northrop quite easily. But again, just a very spread about scorecard. Lots of 20s and 30s. But Awood, 5-13 for Menai Bridge. And then a not from Northup.
Point I would make about the North Wales League, though, Hugh, and I'm loving the fact that every top scorer in the North Wales League last week, bar one, didn't get to 100 strike rate. It's the lowest strike rate I think I've seen across the country. You have got Mr. Ryan Bezic, playing for Northup, scored 21 off 18. It's the only top scoring batter in the league with a strike rate of 100 or more. We haven't seen anything like that yet, have we, Hugh?
No, I think in what was a pretty high scoring weekend, obviously the Wales weather, pitches, etc., just still not settled down. So it's a tough place to get runs. And obviously it's quite spread about. It's quite long and thin, and there's into the valleys and things like that. Yeah. So there will be quite a lot of variation between wickets, and coastal pitches maybe playing better than some of the inland stuff.
Definitely. Hey, let's move to another league very quickly. And we've got a couple more leagues we're going to cover today before we finish off. Let's go down to London. I've got to say London because me and Hugh have a bee in our bonnet because it's the Middlesex County Premier League.
County that doesn't exist.
Which doesn't exist, according to me. Hugh, Middlesex is it's a historical county. The lads who do the Middlesex Premier League podcast will be ringing me up going, what the hell are you lot talking about again? But we got Middlesex, there's something quite rare here. So last year's winner, Stanmore, 4th from bottom. Last year's second place, Brondesbury, bottom. There's no one else struggling like this around the country whatsoever. Shepherd's Bush and North Middlesex 1st and 2nd. What's happening over the weekend there, Hugh?
A strong league, isn't it? Very. It's a fair bit of money knocking about down there, as you can imagine, and it's just every year is going to be competitive, and every year is going to throw up a few different outcomes. We've got Henry Blofeld though, 3 for 40 for Shepherd's Bush. He's rolled back the years, hasn't he?
Absolutely.
So great effort from Henry there. But yeah, Shepherd's Bush lost out to North Middlesex. Shepherd's Bush, the wickets haven't come through, but yeah, Shepherd's Bush 221 all out. North Middlesex just got there with a few overs to go. Finchley Hornsey, is that a tie? Match drawn.
I'm seeing match drawn there.
It's a tie. It says match drawn. It should be a tie. 211, place 211, Finchley Hornsey. So that's a terrific game of cricket there. Both teams all out. So a wicket off the last ball. Carnage must have ensued in that game. I could imagine the whooping and cheering there from who was batting second. Let's have a look. Finchley batting second. So yeah, Hornsey very pleased with that one. And Brondesbury Ealing walked that. Ealing are a strong side, aren't they? And 285 plays 189, and Crouch End Teddington got that one done. And then, like I said, the Stanmore Richmond game is a real high scoring game, over 500 runs in that one. Vanch Yanni 78 off 81. And just looking through at the other top scores, still not massive scoring from the batters, and wickets getting shared around. Tends to be in Middlesex, Surrey, those kind of leagues. It seems to be a much fewer batsmen sort of dominating, but much more sort of team performance, more depth potentially in some of these leagues between batters and bowlers.
How are you finding that in the North East these days, Ash? Is that spread happening a lot more than it used to when the pros were brought over, paid the decent money in their brown envelopes back in the day, and then stood out like a sore thumb?
Yeah, it's sad for cricket. I remember when I first came over, like I said, Jimmy Adams and people like that were around. I think franchise cricket has probably ruined that for quite a lot of the youngsters now who don't get to play with those greats like what we're able to do. There are still some good pros knocking around. Like I say, Tom Rogers and people like that are knocking around in the North East, and he's running in ball 85 mile an hour plus, hurrying us up. But yeah, there's not as many overseas players knocking around, and I think what Premier League clubs up here tend to doing is probably looking after a few local players a little bit more and trying to make that strength in depth like you've just been talking about, which sounds similar to other leagues.
That's good, definitely. You're coming towards that sort of middle of the season now for the North East Premier League.
Yeah.
You know, if we were to look for some names in the coming weeks, just throw some names of young players out there in particular that you've seen around the clubs that listeners can listen out for when we're looking at these scores, etc.
At South Northumberland, sort of like a Sol Bell, who was on Durham's books through the academy, hasn't probably hit the ground running this year, but he's a fantastic young player. Mm-hmm. And I tell you, there's Ross Whitfield, who again was another one who was on Durham's books. Is just starting to ease into his season.
Junior, isn't it?
It is indeed, absolutely. And he made 50 on the weekend, and he's a batter who tends to go on streaks, on a hot streak. But yeah, it's a tough one on the bowling side. I think the spinners now hopefully will start to come into it more and more. And yeah, not George Drizzle, who's an excellent Durham player at the moment. He got 100 on the weekend for Sunderland. I think he's the ultimate club cricketer. Probably unlucky that he doesn't get more of a go with Durham. I think he's from Bristol, from down there. So
when you say ultimate club cricketer, are you meaning he really should be getting a chance elsewhere, but not quite getting it, and ended up Premier League constant?
Well, I think he would do a magnificent job for any club side. He bowls really, really nice off spin. He's a more than capable batter. and a really good bloke. And he's up here at Durham on their books. He'll play the 50 over stuff, but he's just a really, really good cricketer. And, hopefully he'll get some more opportunities up here.
And is he the type of player that, 'cause he's at Sunderland, isn't he?
Yes.
Sunderland came up last season. Yeah. They're in second place right now. Is he the type of player that just needs to have a good season and they're really going to be pushing the likes of Burnmore?
It's a funny one. If you looked at Sunderland, this is no disrespect to Sunderland, I thought they would really struggle coming into the league. And I think it's a sign of the league that at the moment, sides are beating each other. And I don't know whether that's the actual conditions, whether the pitches have just, sometimes you win a toss or lose a toss, and that has a huge influence on the game. But they're a solid side. They've got Daniel Shervin, who's been around for a long time, and a guy who's taken a lot of wickets over the years, Kieran Waterson. So they've got some good, solid cricketers. Mickey Allen is another one who's a good, experienced cricketer. So, and they're mixing that with some young fellas as well. So they're not far away, I think, if they keep going. And you just sometimes need that bit of luck, a bit of Leicester City back in the day, I guess, where they kind of everybody was looking at them, waiting for them to flip up, and they just kept going all the way to the end. So you never know. Burnmore, like I said, are the real strong ones. They've got a big core of ex-Durham players, like Ryan Pringle, Stewie Pointer, Josh Coughlin, who are all there, and they've got some fantastic old heads as well, so they'll take some beating.
And we've followed a number of the players at Burnmore. They don't even seem to have clicked this year yet, but they're still top of the league.
Yeah, they've got individual match winners, and I think you've probably seen earlier in the season, Stewie Pointer belted 247 up at Port Tyndale, who'd just come into the league as well.
Yeah.
Which was really cruel. And they've got those players that when they struggle, one of them just stands up and wins a match. And I think that's crucial in club cricket. Hopefully they don't click, especially this weekend, because we've got them. But and their home conditions as well, they have a pretty bowler-friendly pitch. So for their batters to have a day out, then that can be really crucial in the difference in the game.
You got Kyle Kurtzer in your side, but he's only managed 4 games. Is that something that you're able to get a bit more cricket out of him, or is he just too busy?
It's a tough one because he is assistant coach with the Northern Diamonds. Our wicketkeeper, Jacob McCann, is Danny Hazel's husband. So we've got a bit of a link there, and Kyle lives just down the road. So he was at Benwell Hill for a long time and a great servant for that club. But we're really lucky to have him. We'd love to have him every week, but we knew what we got when Kyle had signed. Yeah. So, if circumstances work out and potentially he might be around a little bit more at the back end of the season, but we know he'll be missing for 100, where he'll be working for the Welsh Fire. So yeah, we just take what we can get with him. But when he has played, he's certainly made a difference. I think he got 100 in his first game and then got 80 not out when we beat South Northumberland. And he's a huge influence and just a great person to have at the club.
Yeah, so had a lot of experience there. Yeah, he's gone 17 not out, 110 not out, 77 not out, and then he got a low score. But I think that's averaging 210 in those 4 games. Quite handy.
Yeah, he's not the worst.
Not bad.
Not the worst.
Yeah. Hey, we've got one more league to look at this week, Hugh. It's just about local, shall we say, the Brum League, the Birmingham and District Premier League. Moseley, who we've talked about in recent weeks, they've got themselves off the bottom of the table now. They won it last year. They've had a couple of results to get them off the bottom there, including one last weekend. Nolan Dorridge looking very strong in second place at the moment, came second last year. But what do you see over there this weekend, mate?
It was a big score, Berkswell versus Nolan Dorridge. Nolan Dorridge 241 for 8 off 57, and Berkswell prior to that 333 all out. So Amir Khan 105, Bailey Capel 83 from 75, Amit Bazra and Tom Mousley, their name we recognise, 37 from 27, and with Vidan Iyer 67 in reply. But that was a big score there, again one of the highest in the country. Yeah. Just looking down, Moseley walked it against Wolverhampton, bowled Wolverhampton out for 141 and then knocked him off within 20 overs. Keith Barker 56, Azim Shoaib 52 from 57 not out. Jamar Ifil 5 for 43 for them.
Hopefully that's mostly kicking on now.
Yeah, well that's it. That's a dominant performance there, isn't it? Smethwick put up 323 in 55 and then couldn't get West Bromwich bowled out, but they sort of shut up shop. 151 to get the draw there, but pretty. They were never getting them, were they?
I think the only people happy to see that result will be the Staffordshire County Cricket Club batters, because obviously they play some of their championship games at West Bromwich Dartmouth, and there's some big runs being scored there.
Yeah. So yeah, Deepak Karti 108 off 80 was a real good performance for Smethwick. We got Oliver Westbury 117. for Himley, they beat Ombersley. They put up 227 and bowled Ombersley out for 198. And then, just think one more to go. Barnard's Green versus Barton Green looked like an interesting game. Barnard's Green bowled out for 181, and then Barton Green knocked it off within 30 overs as well. So Henry Cullen, 77 from 90.
Jacob Buehler couldn't repeat his big ton from the week before there for Barnard's Green, just scoring 37 off 23 balls, mind you. 181 all out, and Barnard Green, who they've been going well. They're in fourth place this year at the moment, so they've been going well in the Birmingham District League. So, as always, we'll have another 5 or 6 leagues next week to have a chat about, and we'll be putting a shout out sometime during the week to get a guest on from one of those leagues, because there's nothing better than talking about a league and having someone who knows some of the people a bit better than we do. In fact, a lot better than we do, hey, Hugh?
Yeah.
Get in there. So, hey, Ash, we're coming towards the end of the recording now. Just always like to ask all of our guests the same sort of question. What's your hopes for the rest of the season for Chester Street? You started off reasonably well. You called it average to start with, but I think you'd be happy where you are right now, wouldn't you?
Yeah, I mean, it could be a lot worse. Let's be totally honest. Hey, we've got ambitions. We want to win the league. I'm not going to hide behind that. Is it going to be easy? Absolutely not. There's some really good sides. We've mentioned Burnmore, Sunderland, South Northumberland. They're all around. We got beat off Burnetfield the other week, who are really strong on their day as well. So it's a tough league, and hopefully, if we can get on a run, other results might go our way with how competitive it is. But yeah, I make no apologies about it, and it's no arrogance. That is just our ambition. We want to win the league. We'll have a crack. If we fall short, we'll fall short, but we'll have a go trying, that's for sure.
And I've got to ask you, you were dragged back to Chester Street, as you said, last year, or to captain last year, and you're captaining this year. Do you keep banging on the door of the chairman every now and again saying, I do want to retire, or are you enjoying it still?
I am banging that door down. In fact, I think I've kicked it down. I'm in the progress of transitioning. I've actually, in the last week or two, we've appointed a captain in James Thompson, who I mentioned earlier, who played beautifully on the weekend. I thoroughly enjoy it. I love coaching. It's what I do. I love talking cricket and trying to make people better cricketers. And we're at that phase. That's really what I was brought into the club to do. Yeah. And it was a transition until we could find that captain. And we managed to recruit James over the winter. It's happened probably a little bit sooner than we wanted, but the time's right. He's taken on that role really well, and the lads are responding well to him. So hopefully I can gracefully or not so gracefully slip out the back door and just bark orders.
You can be on the list to play when it is required, is what you'd like.
That's what I am right now, but that seems to be more and more often than I'd like, if I'm totally honest with you. But it is what it is. Like I say, if Kyle and people like that are around, then what I want to do is give young players an opportunity. We've got a really young lad, Charlie Purden, who's coming through the club, and I want to give him an opportunity. I'm coming up 50 years old, mate. I've done my time, and time for these young lads to pick up the mantle and run with that and keep driving the club forward, and cricket in general in the North East.
Absolutely. It's not like you haven't got anything else to do with your day-to-day life, is it? And obviously, for listeners who get to watch some of the Vitality Blast in the coming weeks, you might hear Ash on commentary every now and again for Durham. You'll be doing some commentary during the Metro Bank as well, mate?
Yeah, I'm really lucky that I've got a great relationship here with Durham, and I'm part of their in-house media team. So we do the championship games on the stream, and we've taken things up to a new level. So if you get the chance to watch Durham on the stream, we're trying to make it as professional as what we can. And we've got literally just down the corridor there, like a proper studio, which is incredible. There's some big names, Steve Harmison and Scott Borthwick and people like that are around presenting it, and Danny Hazel from the female point of view as well is a huge household name in cricket in the North East, and we run a really professional show, which is it's exciting. And on the flip side of that, I work here every day with Parkview, so we've already got that relationship with Parkview Cricket Academy and Durham. So we're trying to go from strength to strength, offering kids in the area that opportunity to progress and see how far they can make it. And
that's what we all want to do in cricket, isn't it? Get as many people playing it as possible at all ages. The women's game up in Durham, I think, is going to take a massive jump during the winter with the Tier 1, isn't it?
Yeah, it's going to fly. And we see the likes of Danny Hazel and that around. She's more prominent. She's obviously involved with the Northern Diamonds. But, it'd be interesting to see what moves the club makes to get that figurehead in place. Yeah. They've got a head of academy now. We've already talked about kind of before the show there. The infrastructure that they're putting in place, they'll hit the ground running in November, and it's just amazing opportunity. We've seen the success of the Lionesses in the football, and hopefully cricket can follow that pathway through with this new Tier 1.
That's brilliant. Hey, thanks for your time, Ash. Been a great chat this afternoon. We said you were quite a mixed up person at the beginning. I think the conversation has shown that you're got your fingers in all kinds of pies up there. But the main thing is it's just cricket in the northeast, isn't it?
Yeah, it is, and it's part of me. My old man was the same growing up, and it just seems to be in the blood that you just want to be involved. Like I said, I'm still playing at 49, which is ridiculous, and I guess that probably shows one thing or another. But just apologies for me. I've got a bit of man flu going on, and so if you see me sniffling on and wiping my nose, I apologise.
Hang on a minute. That's the Aussie coming out in him, because no one in the northeast would talk like that, would they?
Yeah, absolutely weak.
Absolutely.
But it's been great to be on, guys, and love the show and keep up the good work.
That's great. Many thanks for your time, Ash.
Cheers,
thanks,
guys.
Ash.
Thank you.
Cheers, mate. Thanks for listening to the Premier League Cricket Show. If you haven't already, make sure to hit that subscribe button so you don't miss out on future episodes and stay updated on all the latest news, views and discussions from around the Cricket's Premier Leagues. And be sure to follow us on X, formerly known as Twitter, and Instagram at TPL Cricket Show on both. Join the conversation, share your thoughts and connect with us and your fellow Premier League cricket fans. And hey, if you enjoyed the show, why not show us some love? Leave us a 5-star review on your favourite podcast platform, as it helps other potential listeners to find us when they're searching for cricketing podcasts. Thanks again for being part of the Premier League Cricket Show family, and until next time, have a good one.
This podcast is part of the Sports Social Podcast Network.